Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Primal Chaos here. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. As you guys know, I'm pretty new to the extreme vocals kind of scene. That's the whole point of this channel, is to sort of learn about, like, you know, metalcore, deathcore, all the other cores. Partycore is a thing I didn't know about. But it occurs to me that, you know, it seems like what a lot of people are responding to is more my analysis and breakdowns of a lot of the songs. And so what you'll find on my playlist of reaction videos is all 100% pure reactions. If there's ever an instance where I'm familiar with the band or anything, I'll obviously let you know. But I'll only typically react to songs I've never heard before, because that's what you're there for. You're there for reactions. But I'm thinking of starting a new playlist where I do reviews of songs, which is not to say that I'm criticizing them, but to basically use the same level of interpretation and stuff like that I would usually gets manifested in the reaction videos that I do. This will be more songs that I'm familiar with. And I'm going to start off with probably one of the bigger ones. You've all seen people react to this before, I guarantee. Some of you that are into the more aggressive stuff maybe aren't fans of Nightwish. I've been a fan of Nightwish since Once came out many years ago. I've seen him a couple of times live, all that sort of stuff. And I've even seen this video before. I think everybody on the internet has at this point. But I thought it's a good place to start, because it's going to be one of those ones, if you like to compare reactors and their reactions, which I'm sure a lot of people do. I've bounced around through like Tool reactions and stuff quite a lot. This would be my version of Ghost Love Score live at Wacken in 2013. So it's going to be a long one. Strap in. It's a 10-minute song. And I'll probably have a fair amount to say about it, but if you're interested, here it is. And let me know if you want me to do more of these. I'm going to try and get around to as many of the reactions you guys have requested, but there's literally hundreds of them. And you know, at this stage in the game, I'm really just giving the people what they want. If it seems like I'm doing a lot of the same band and stuff like that, it's because I'm getting asked for that song like by 30 or 40 different people. So, you know, occasionally I'm going to try to get back to doing songs that, you know, are something just left of field and things like that, as much as I can, because that's why I'm here. But in this case, full disclosure, I'm familiar with the song. I've heard it 1,000 times. This particular video I've seen before. But yeah, stick around if you're interested in hearing what I have to say about it. Let's take a look. I love this song. Come on. If there was ever any doubt, God, I don't want to stop it. I just never want to hit pause on this. If there was ever any doubt that Thomas Halopainen was inspired by like Disney, you know, high fantasy soundtracks, you know, this is the proof right here. You can hear it. Just that sort of bop, 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 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's got that sort of sea shanty kind of waltz vibe to it, which is really cool. But the energy they bring to it with all those orchestral hits and stuff, just, oh my God. Switch it up to 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, actually, no, maybe not. They're just accenting it really nicely. Halftime. Now, I know, sorry everybody. I know exactly what I just did. If you're not familiar with this song and this band and who Fleur Jansen is, you're about to be in for a treat. I'm here to tell you. This chick, the third vocalist for Nightwish, as far as I can recall. There was Tarja Turunen, then there was Annette, and then Fleur. Yeah, man. Hang on. Here we go. I'll just respectfully step back in time. If there was a way to personify the sensation of flying or gliding over a Scandinavian glacier while you're dreaming, if you could make that into music, that is exactly what that sounds like. It is just the literal personification of a Scandinavian glacier. Let's put it that way. I see mountaintops and, you know, fresh air and lofty peaks and stuff like that. Let's go back a bit. It's okay to feel emotional, okay? You have my permission. The timbre of a voice through that whole part, it's so delicate, but it's also so high, and you have to have extraordinary control to be able to keep all of those notes elevated like that, but not sort of, you know, operatically push them out at full voice. You know what I mean? And that's you'll hear she goes through a few different phases of technique in this song, sometimes switching between lines, which is pretty impressive. Who am I kidding? It's amazing. But I just kind of, I watched this clip and I think no matter what you saw at Wacken that day, and no matter what else you saw from Nightwish that day, you would leave after seeing this performance knowing that you witnessed something special, you know? And that's just magic right there. Let's go back.
Siren from the deep came to me, sang my name, I love you. Still I write my songs about the dream of mine, worth everything I may ever be. The child will be born again, that siren carried him to me.
I know that, like, Thomas composes pretty much everything, and I guess all the guys have their input on what they're going to play and stuff like that. And I've talked about this many times before, but this entire piece is an exercise in playing to serve the song. If you do hear a few little embellishments and licks, it's only just to break up the monotony of a simple part. But, you know, they could have had shreddy guitar solos through that whole thing or whatever, but they're not. They leave space to let the melody breathe. And in this case, it's being executed perfectly by the vocalist, you know.
First of them true loves, sitting on the shoulder of an angel without care for love and
And if there was ever a guitar solo that summed up what I just said, that's it. Every note perfect, exactly where it needs to be, nothing more, nothing less. Listen to those horns. It just, the textures that sort of wash over you. Woodwinds. And then what you're hearing now is choral vocals coming through to sort of thicken out, you know, the mid-range, so that, you know, those articulations are kind of like, even though their woodwinds are kind of not particularly high like a flute would be, like I'm talking about like clarinets and things like that. You know, this is kind of to just wash, you know, the undercurrent of the sound through and let, you know, those other articulations sort of flitter around in the top end. It's just, the composition is just stellar. It's so good. Timpani rolls, everything's right where it should be. I love that everybody starts like clapping out of time. It drives me crazy. You can never rely on a crowd to really understand the groove. Okay, I'll go back, but what I wanted to get at in that section there is you can see she's brought her voice down with more power now to, it's much more sort of like in the range where she would normally speak loudly, you know what I mean? As opposed to that delicate sort of flowy vocal from before. Because this part of the song is heaps more anthemic. It's supposed to be punch the air kind of, you know, again, it's got that 3/4 sea shanty kind of vibe, but a lot more, not as frivolous. It's still kind of bombastic, but it's still got power behind it, which is really, really cool. Let's go back so we can hear that transition. Yeah. Again, just exceptional use of like vocal distortion there. I mean, there's so much going on musically. I can't even, if I stopped every time something amazing happened, this would be a 3-hour long video. But just that part where it sort of starts, you get that musical sensation of just tumbling, you know, through chaos. Da, 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 da. One thing I know Thomas is really a fan of is that sort of carnival atmosphere. Soundtracky kind of like orchestral, bombastic, I keep using that word, but you know, just that carny sort of off-kilter, you know, it's just like, there's a little bit gypsy, you know, there's some fire behind it and some energy, and it's just, he's the master of that composition. Here's that carny atmosphere. When a 6'2" Amazonian banshee asks you to throw your horns up, you're gonna throw your horns up. Composition of those horn parts in the background, like the trumpets and stuff like that, just these little flourishes. Just see if you can hear it over the top there. They're just like, you know, the rhythm's just bop, 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 but you've got all these little delicate sort of things in the background, adding texture in the top end, like bop, 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 those sort of little parts. Again, it's, you know, one thing that's interesting about this whole thing, right? If you play in like a symphony orchestra, for example, I'm sure it feels amazing on stage. Having all of that power of energy of music around you, and all of the frequencies are covered, you know, all the way from the contrabass all the way through to, you know, the highest frequency piccolos or whatever would be up there, and everybody's got a place. And that's the reason orchestras exist, because there's for everything you could possibly do musically, there's a branch of the orchestra that can take care of that. And so you can compose music that's sonically got everything you could ever hope for. But I still think that removing the element of an amazing rock band from behind that, like this, this takes a symphony orchestra style composition and just adds, you know, 200% more power to it, you know? And I wonder if, you know, any people who are classical musicians who play in orchestras would watch this and go, man, I wish we had that kind of raw power on stage, you know, having an amazing drummer just hitting double kicks. I mean, I know they got percussionists and timpani artists. I just feel like the nature of, you know, the age of the instruments and like the period of when all the instruments were invented, it can hold back a little bit of creativity that they probably didn't even understand until bands started utilizing orchestras, or orchestration, I should say, because there's no orchestra on stage here, but you know, it's all recorded in pre-production and stuff like that. But I mean, if you're a classical musician or composer who doesn't work with a rock band, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious. Is there envy? Do you not care? Is there enough? Like, you know, I mean, I've heard a symphony orchestra, and when you're in the room, it sounds like enough. But I just feel like you can do more with these extra elements thrown in, you know? We'll be back. All right, guys. 1 in 6 guys out there and 1 in 200 women suffer from color blindness, much the same way I do. And there's something you can do about it. If you click on the link in the description, you can go to Enchroma and you can get a free eye test. And while you're there, you can check out some of their corrective glasses. And if you find something you like, just use the code CHAOS in the checkout and you can get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you. Okay, so first off, I want to start by saying, yeah, it gets really hot in here. I was starting to sweat. You could see it. It's a warm day here and I've got my lights on and stuff like that. And it gets kind of, I'm schwitzing in here, if you know what I'm saying. But the reason I stopped commenting, this is actually, I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to post this. There's a point every time when I watch this video, right towards the end when everything elevates and Fleur does that high note, that really high note, you know, to sort of go into those, you know, essentially the climax of the song. You'll notice I went to say something and then I didn't because I got too emotional. I feel like such a clown, but the problem is that I have with this song is that once it gets to that point, I have a self-realization and it happens almost every time. And I think about stuff that I do musically and art-wise and things like that. And I know on a fundamental level that I'll never create anything that is as good as what that is. And that's okay. That's the way creativity works. You know what I mean? That's something, you use that, you take it on board and you use it as inspiration and aspire to do better. Some people take that lesson and they take it the wrong way and they think, you know, the only way to react to realizing that somebody is better than you or further along in their journey than you are is to be resentful. And that's the easy choice. You can make the easy choice to be jealous and resentful and avoid experiencing that person's art. Or you can do what I try to always force myself to do, and that is to always put myself in the presence of that greatness and try to figure out what it is that makes them great. How did they get to that level? As an artist, like I also draw and paint and things like that. That's a challenge that I sort of discovered early on. I was lucky enough when I was about 15 or 16 years old to be presented with people that I deemed personally to be better than me. And rather than get upset about it, like I always felt, you know, a little bit snarky, particularly when people would come to you in high school and stuff like that and say, have you seen such and such's artwork? He's better than you are, you know? And as somebody who's always been relatively known for being good at stuff like that, it can chip away at your ego a little bit and it can make you a little bit annoyed and upset. But it's a life lesson, right? That's the easy choice, is to fall victim to that. But if you find that you are able to make yourself aware of when those situations happen, it doesn't take long for your mindset to completely change. And when you see something like this, that's, to me, this is, in my personal opinion, this is the most important piece of music ever written. It isn't. That's just like, I mean, I'm sure that there's no way of quantifying that. But for me personally, in my heart of hearts, this is it. This is as good as it gets. And, you know, you can take from that, like, so much if you allow yourself to not, you know, cave under the pressure of greatness. And if you're a composer, I'm sure you're aware of this. I'm sure that there's someone out there that you just look at, or even a guitar player or a singer, or, you know, if you're out there trying to be the next singer of Nightwish and then you see this performance, it might be enough for you to want to, you know, break your microphone and leave the room and never come back. But yeah, this song to me is that it's perfection. And so part of the emotional reaction I get when I watch it, I was kind of hoping wouldn't happen this time, is that it's that whole, you know, self-realization, but also it's like, it's that elation that you feel when you witness something of greatness. And that's why people love flocking to videos like this, because on some level they're aware that that's what this is. It's pure greatness. But anyway, I think I've said all I need to say about this. Let's, you know, it is, like I said, if you were at that concert, if you were lucky enough to have been there, I'd love to hear in the comments if you realized at the time what you'd witnessed. You know, because I know every reaction channel has reacted to this, and you know, most of the serious reactors anyway, who I hope to be like one day. You know, they'll have 800,000 to 1 million views on it. So we've all seen it, you know, and that wouldn't happen in a vacuum. If this was an average song that was reasonably good that some people like and it was kind of niche, then there wouldn't be 1 million views on those reactions. There would be 15 to 20,000 on some of the key channels. So, you know, if you take anything away from this, it's probably that. It's if you come across greatness, rather than let it challenge your ego, let it challenge your curiosity. And that's what it is. Figure out why it's the best, and then strive to emulate that. As usual, if I've brightened your day, I hope it didn't get too weird. Please, you know, if you feel free to buy me a coffee. I'll put the link in the description. But more than anything, just like and subscribe and share. That would be the greatest gift you can give me anyway. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.